Alright, it's been a couple days. We got some parts now in, and we got our wheel bearings, and of course we are going to be pressing these in. I have a little Harbor Freight press. Everybody should have one of those. I have a review online about the one I bought 8 years ago. It's paid for itself 20 times at least. It's amazing. So unfortunately you can buy them like this, or you can buy them assembled with the spindle and everything. And as you can see how this one's set up here, yep, you pretty much got to press this wheel bearing in and out. But like I said, you can buy this whole assembly here, but it's $150. I bought both of those wheel bearings for $30 free shipping. So, you know, if you have a press, you're good to go. So let's go ahead and start on this. Let's go ahead and get this bolt out. I've already loosened it up. And this ABS sensor wire should come out. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and disconnect it. I'm going to take these two bolts here out and just disconnect the lower ball joint on the bottom, which is right here. And then, since we are putting new sway bar end links, we're just going to cut these off with a saw or a grinder cutting wheel. Cut them off, because you're not getting these off. I don't care who you are, especially if you live in the Northeast. And as you can see on the top here, yeah, this bolt looks all innocent. Looks like, oh yeah, I'll come right off. But trust me, guys, she's not coming off. So we're just going to cut that off. And basically, this whole assembly will come right off once we get the lower ball joint loose. And I'll probably going to have to go ahead and try to get this plate off just to make it a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and get this off. Alright, so what we're going to do next is go ahead and knock these out. These bolts here. Nice thing is about these, when you knock them out, you don't have an alignment to worry about or anything. They just go right back in. And these were 13/16 or 21 millimeter, I believe it was. This is 21. Yep. Let's go ahead and knock these out. And the reason we're going to go ahead and take this off is because if I pull this out and just let this kind of dangle, I'm going to worry about this here later. I'll cut this off. This will give me a little more room here a little bit. So let's go ahead and... shouldn't be any too much pressure on this. A little bit, but there we go. So there's that bolt. That's a fairly big one. Yeah, let's get this one here out next. Actually came out better than I thought. So now we'll just go ahead and push this back out of the way. And there's that. As you can see, this is all loose. And the axle's ready to slide out. But I'll take a hammer here on the bottom, and we'll just hit this a couple of times and see if we can break it free that way. It may come loose pretty easy. I've got the bolt pretty loose there, so let's go ahead and try that. See if we can go ahead and just pull this whole assembly off now. Alright guys, after a couple of hits, actually it came off pretty easy. I was surprised. Although this is not the biggest ball joint in the world, so let's lift up on it. Get the axle out. Alright, so that was way too easy. So let's look at the axle. Alright, so there it is. Gearbox feels really good. That's what I was worried about. Thought maybe some noise in there was transferring through the axle to the wheel bearing, but the wheel bearing is bad, but feels really good. And of course, it's seen better days. Look at that. Not good. So it looks like it should be a fairly easy press out. We'll have to push this piece here off first, push the bearing out, then put the bearing in, and push this hub assembly over. So glad that's off. The only thing I got to do is see if I can get some sockets here on this dust cover. Get that off, and if we can get this off, then I think we can get this wheel bearing pressed in and put back on the car. Hey, let me know where you're watching from right now. Alright, thankfully I was able to get all three bolts out, and this one here got a little tough. I don't have the correct socket for these here, but this little 8mm guy here worked okay. This one here kind of tried to round off. Took a hammer, and this guy here, just a extension, used one. I hit it a couple of times, kind of freed it up, and most of the times it'll help you get this loose. So that's a big relief. We got this out of the way, and I put a little paint there so we know how it goes back on. And now we can go ahead, try to figure out how to push this wheel bearing off and put the new one on. At 5 miles an hour, trust me, this thing sounded like we were dragging a bag of rocks. That's how bad it was. Alright guys, so here's the setup I'm using. Apologize for all the junk, but that's the old Harbor Freight 20-ton press. This one is made by Central. I don't know if they still make this particular one, but this one's 40,000 pounds capacity. Works great. Now I think the ones they have nowadays is yellow. So here's the setup that I have. I've got a couple pieces of wood, you know, piece of metal so the piece of this doesn't sink into the wood there, and same thing over here. And this should be fairly easy to press out. I've kind of got it set up there, so let's go ahead and see if we can press it out. Alright, so at this point I've got the camera set up about the best I can get it, and hopefully this will come out fairly easy, and we'll just gently put pressure on it here, and it'll probably either pop or it may just come out. I don't know. Oh, it's coming. Alright, so these presses, man, I'm telling you, they pay for themselves overnight if you just use them once. Great. I was kind of worried about this. I love it when a plan comes together. Wow, so it came right out. Of course, on the top of this here, to push this out, this piece here, I just used a simple, you know, you can just use a big socket, just push it out. But now that's out, and these are, looks like the roller bearing type, so I'm not surprised. Of course, I'll have to probably get a chisel in behind here now and knock this out. So I got other videos on how to usually to take this out. So usually you put a really sharp chisel down in here and tap all the way around. This ring will start to pull out. Don't even worry about getting a nut buster on here because you're not going to get it. So there's that. And there's the back side of that. And look at them bearings. Yep. So now what we got to do is take this big clamp out here. Hold it up there for you guys. Take this clamp out and go ahead and push this rest of this bearing out this way. That'll be fairly easy to do. We'll just push on the back of it here. Should be able to get it right out. So there we go. Alright, so as you can see here, I've actually got it started already. Just take a chisel. It's got to be pretty sharp, and I pulled this ring off, dust cover, and just knock it all the way around. And when you get it so far like that, it usually will come off the rest of the way. You can stick this back through a piece of pipe or something if you won't hold it straight up, but just tap away at it, and it'll eventually come. So let me get this off.
Pretty big chisel.
Alright, just about off. My mama used to say, if there's a will, there's a way. That means if you have a will in your house, you better pay your taxes on your house. Anyway, so there's that. So that came off real easy. Hardly any scratches or anything. So, and again, you can get a Dremel tool and cut this off, or take a cutting wheel. But like I said, the key here is to make sure your chisel is nice and sharp, to get in behind here to kind of separate this from that. Alright kids, I'll tell you what, they weren't kidding when they put this on here. They'll even try to use something small. Actually, I've made these, I've had these for years. You got to have a really strong clamp. You got to use something heavy like this. And now we can go ahead and actually get this out. There we go. Thing was in there. I actually took my chisel and went around, put some oil in here and hit this on both sides, got it turning a little bit so it would break free, and that's probably the best way to do this. So I'll have to put my foot on it here and go ahead and take it the rest of the way up. But yeah, be prepared to fight this if you don't have a really good set of tools like this. Alright, it's a dirty job, folks, messy job. Alright, so there that is. And now all we gotta do is push our bearing out and push the other one back in, and we'll have this side done. So it wasn't too bad, but unfortunately, if you want to press your bearing in, you're going to have a press. But like I said, you can buy this whole assembly with the bearing already in it. It's a lot easier to do, and you know, it probably cost you a little bit more. Probably be worth it if you don't have all the tools that I have. Alright, so there's our setup again, and for the most part, just a big old 30mm socket. I have a junk box, I keep everything, you know, got that sitting on the bearing. And this plate that you see here, the hole in it, you see you get a small hole here on this side, you got different designs. Well, this hole is exactly just the right size I need. So let that bearing slip down in through there. So let's go ahead and see what we get. It may pop, make a bang noise first. Oh, she's in there pretty good. Alright, let's try this again. I just checked the other side, make sure there was nothing there holding it. So there's nothing there, so we'll get all the pressure we can get on it and take a hammer and hit it. I think you can still see it there, yeah. Sometimes you just tap on it. There it went. Did you hear that pop? She's tight. She's going in, but she's going. There it goes. Really surprised how tight that was in there. Wow, that was in there. All right, let's flip it around real quick and look at the other side. And she's gone, and there we go. So now I gotta readjust this here on this so it'll slide the rest of the way out, and we should be in good shape. Alright, so after a few hairy moments there, I should be able to catch it with my hand here. It's pretty much out. Got it. All right, and there it is. Yay! All right, so overall, it took me about 45 minutes to get this bearing pushed out and everything, because I had to look up for some pieces like this in my junk box. But there it is. She was in there, so we'll clean it up a little bit with some light sandpaper, put oil in it, put the new bearing in it, and then eventually press this guy back here on, and that's it. So I'll come back here when it's all together. No point in me showing you how to do it. Pretty simple to put back in. The only other tip I have is make sure you clean all the rust out here before you put your clip back in. And when you're pushing this bearing back in, make sure it's seated far enough down in here so you can put your clip back in there so it'll have all the clearance. Other than that, let's get it back together. And also make sure this one here has a seal on the outside. I do believe this one had a seal on this side, but it was torn, so just pay attention to that. Sometimes they want you to put the seal on the outside versus the inside, so I'll check the other one, the new one, see where the seal is. And if the seal only has one side, then more than likely the seal is probably going to go here on this side, because this side has a deeper groove and lip, and I don't think a seal would do any good back there, but that's just me thinking out loud. Alright, so there's my cheap setup for now. The only thing that concerns me, I may have to put a piece of metal down here, but just a couple of pieces here. The old bearing, turn it upside down. Got the new one already started in straight. I eyeballed it, kind of tapped on it a little bit, and now it should go in. I greased it on the inside, and I've also cleaned it up a little bit of sandpaper. So it should go in pretty easy. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I may have to change this piece of wood out. See if it'll. Yeah, let me go ahead and change this piece of wood out. Alright, so I've eyeballed it, we got it going straight now, and there it goes. we'll have to recenter that just a little bit. Right there is the old bearing on the top. That way when it pushes the new one in, it's pretty much perfect. And it's got to go in another 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch. And there we go. All the way in. All we got to do is tap this out and we're done. So it wasn't too bad. All right, so that just comes right out. It looks like we got her seated all the way in like it's supposed to be there on the top. That way we can get our clip in there, and all we got to do now is push in our hub there and we're good. All right, that's in. Man, like I said, you gotta have some strong ones, and I actually took a grinding wheel and kind of made these, but it's all in and nice and smooth. No more noise, so we'll go ahead and press this in and wrap this up. Now, before you push this in, this hub here, make sure you put your clip on. I've seen guys put this on and forgot to put the clip in. So, and by the way, both sides of this seal is on this bearing. We got a seal on both sides, so what I was talking about earlier, well, you can just kind of forget about that. So, all right, so let's go ahead and finish up here. All right, so let's give you one last look here. We'll go ahead and push this on. We got it started straight. We got a lot of grease in there, and it's going pretty well. So let me show you what I did on the bottom. All right, so what I did here, and I almost messed up. I forgot about this. You got to be really careful, because when you're pushing this in like this, if you have something on the outside, you take a chance of pushing this inner bearing part out, race. Basically, the right way to do this is turn it upside down like this. I put a piece up on the top like this on the inner side. Push that down over that shaft, and that'll slide that over, because if you don't, you take a chance of separating that bearing. I've had that happen to me a long time ago when I was a newbie, and I do make mistakes, and I try not to make too many of them. So now we'll go ahead and put this on, and now we'll go ahead and push this down over that. And I got grease on the inside, and I took a little sandpaper just to help it out down in here, and you see going. And you can tell it's going right because it's free. It's all the way on. Check that out. Perfect. Just like we want it. So folks, in a nutshell, we're pretty much done with this side. All I gotta do is kind of bolt the old dust cover on, and we can put this back together. And you can see it's all together, and it makes no noise. And it's free, and everything's just like it should be. This job here, if you can do this, it'll save you $350 per side at Mercedes. Alright, so other than that, we'll go ahead and put this on. I'm not going to bother showing the other side, but we'll take a look at it once we get everything back together. But the hardest thing on this car would be probably this. So we're done. So there we go.